Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abuse. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters counsel is the lady. It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Good day and welcome to a new week. It's a fresh edition of Political Spectrum coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. I am your host, Onwese Ehinoma Olusegun, and as usual, we'll be engaging in robust conversations around recent developments. Well, today is July the 31st, Monday 2023, and it marks 64 days of President Bola Tinubu in office as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have continued to follow President Tinubu's administration keenly, even as the head of the ECOWAS region, starting from the West African sub-region. Recently, the West African body has clearly condemned the recent military coup developments in the Niger Republic and has made specific demands from the coup plotters. Now, ECOWAS ultimatum: the plotters dismiss ECOWAS threat, Bazou's reinstatement. The Economic Commission of West African States, Authority of the Heads of State and Government, on Sunday in Abuja issued a 7-day ultimatum to the Niger Republic military to release and reinstate President Mohamed Bazoum as the legitimate head of state and government of the landlocked state. But in a swift reaction, the Niger putschist and new military regime clearly rejected the call and warned ECOWAS against military intervention, saying, "We want once more remind ECOWAS or any other adventurer of our firm determination to defend our homeland," they said. ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government held an extraordinary meeting on Sunday at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa, Abuja, to discuss the next line of action and the developments in Niger Republic. Now, recognizing Bazoum as the legitimate president, the bloc rehearsed its earlier resolution to explore all measures necessary to restore democratic governance in Niger. Sanctions had been placed on the regime. All right, away from that, NECA urges federal government to avert NLC planned protest as workers and Nigerians await further directives from the organized labor on whether to continue mobilization for the scheduled mass protest on Wednesday, 2nd August 2023, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association (NECA) has urged the federal government to take urgent actions to avert the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) proposed mass protests. The Director General of NECA, Adewale Smart Oyerinde, made the call on Sunday in Abuja, advising organized labor to embrace social dialogue to protect Nigerians from further hardship expected to result from the mass protest, which will lead to the shutdown of economic activities and possibly cause massive financial job loss. Oyerinde expressed regret that the relationship between successive Nigerian governments, organized labor, that is NLC, TUC, and the NECA has been challenging, especially between government and organized labor, resulting in incessant conflicts and numerous threats of strike instead of fostering sustainable enterprise, decent work, and economic growth. He stated, recent events that portend serious danger for the survival of sustainable enterprise, decent work, national development, and our industrial relations systems as a whole necessitated this urgent call. The parlous state of the economy and the recent mobilization of strike and civil action by the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) and Trade Union Congress of the Nigeria (TUCN) is not only worrisome but also calls for urgent action by government and other stakeholders. Social partners must respect the established institutions created to adjudicate and arbitrate labor matters in the country. These institutions include, but are not limited to, the National Industrial Court, the Industrial Arbitration Panel, etc. Neglecting these institutions could potentially compromise our labor and industrial relations systems and framework, with grave consequences for the economy. Furthermore, of the achievements of these objectives could potentially cause a breakdown of law and order, with the attendant risk of organized business and the nation as a whole. Now, organized businesses in the formal and formal sectors lost over 5 trillion naira due to the crass vandalization by unscrupulous elements who hijacked the purposeful NSAS protest in 2020. Many organizations are yet to recover from the loss incurred, and many informal sector operators are fatally handicapped economically. Any strike, threat of mass action, or civil disobedience that could potentially disrupt the economic activities of the business, especially those in the formal and informal sectors, which could compromise sustainability and job creation based on economic policies of the government, which are non-employment related, will be counterproductive. Now, NECA also advised the government to arrest the planned mass protest and, as a matter of urgency, take immediate steps to ameliorate the economic trauma being faced by workers, Nigerian and organized businesses. Recall that the NLC and other associated groups are planning a protest for Wednesday, which is this week, the 2nd of August 2023. All right, away from the planned protest and back into the ministerial list, which probably will form one of the major bases for our discussion today. The ministerial list sparks off continued conversations. Now, President Bola Tinubu long-awaited ministers' nominee list was finally released a few hours before its constitutional deadline around the ending of last week. Now, this finally put a stop to weeks of speculations over the capacity and capability of the people who would make up the cabinet of the president. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, released the list, which had 28 ministerial nominees, although the Constitution provides for a minimum of 36 ministers, that is, at least one from each state. Now, to the surprise of many political observers, the list had former governors and senators. Out of 28 names, the list had only 7 women, making approximately 25% women. Now, this yet has forced reactions from different parts of Nigeria, as it got people also talking. Now, the ministerial list, comprising 4 former governors, 7 women, young politicians, 7 and former lawmakers and technocrats, was picked from 25 of Nigeria's 36 states, since the Constitution mandates the president to pick at least a minister from every state. Mr. Tinubu is expected to submit at least 11 more names to the Senate in the coming days. The list continues to generate critical arguments in different quarters. Some say It continues as Nigeria's culture of women underrepresentation, as only 7 women made the cutout of President Tinubu's 28 nominees. The representation of women in the list is 25%. The 10% point shortage of this promised action plan to allow at least 35% participation of women in government, as contained in the manifesto Renewed Hope of 2023. The goal will be to increase women's participation in government to at least 35% of all government's positions, he noted. Calling on working with the National Assembly, this legislation shall also mandate the federal executive, particularly the cabinet and core senior advisors, to reserve a minimum number of senior positions for women. Private institutions shall be strongly encouraged to also do likewise. That was what his manifesto read. However, Mr. Tinubu still has an opportunity to address the imbalance, as he is expected to send more ministerial nominees to the Senate for confirmation. The Nigerian Constitution mandates that the president appoints at least 1 minister from each of Nigeria's 36 states. However, analysis shows that 11 states were not represented in the ministerial list yet. Recall that over the years from 1999, no Nigerian president had assented the 35% women representation affirmation action, as stipulated in the National Gender Policy of 2006. President Tinubu's predecessor, Muhammadu Buhari, in his first term nominated a paltry 6 women out of 46 appointees. Although what seemed like a slight improvement in his second term, he nominated 7 female ministers out of at least 43, which is about 16%. Nigerian women kicked against the low number of women appointed as ministers by Mr. Buhari, who, like President Tinubu, during his campaign had promised but failed to respect the affirmative action. Now, Jonathan had appointed only 9 women to his cabinet. Obasanjo appointed 3 women in his first term and increased it to 9 in his second term, making up to 30%, which seems to be the highest yet. All right, we will go on a short break. Thereafter, we'll be right back, and I'll introduce my guests so that the conversations will begin. Remember, this is Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television, coming live from Uyo, the state's capital. Stay tuned. Join us again.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my Lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, welcome back, and many thanks for staying tuned. This is Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television, and right away, just right straight into the business of the day, I have my guest present with me. His name is Citizen Matthew Kofi Okono, also known as Citizen MKO. Citizen MKO is a productivity advocate and founder, president, Open Forum. Good morning to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Yes.
Good to be here again.
You know, most times I'm always excited when I start the week with you.
I appreciate
because
that.
Because aside the fact that we both try to, put some kind of answers to a lot of questions lingering on the minds of people. I am your student because I learn a lot from you too.
You are the master.
I must confess that.
You do something. When you have like minds, you bring out the best.
That is
in
true.
yourselves.
That is true.
There's something you brought to the table.
Thank you so much.
That we have to suspend some other engagements.
I'm going to celebrate a party this week. Thank you so much. I hope my chairman is hearing this.
I'm sorry. We just exchanged pleasantries before I came to the studio, and I told him that he has a Superman.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So moving straight into the business of the day. Let's start from the West African sub-region. It has been a theater of all sorts of activities, all sorts of things that you can decide to categorize however you want it. The ECOWAS came up with a very strongly worded statement that the people who perpetrated the coup in Niger Republic that ousted Bazoum, that is still in their custody, should think over it and try to reverse it and, come back to restoring peace and some kind of stability in that region. But immediately we also heard their their response, saying that they are ready to defend their motherland with the last drop of their blood. Now, a lot of things are conflicting. But I will not ask you specific questions. I want you to just help us make sense of the whole scenario.
Thank you very much. I want to greet our viewers. I normally say greet fellow citizens and humanity. Good morning, all. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching us from.
Regardless of the time zone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
What is happening in Niger is very dangerous. Why is it dangerous? I'm speaking as a Nigerian now.
Yeah.
Niger, in fact, some persons don't know the difference between Nigeria and Niger when it comes to the border. Remember, our immediate past president says Niger is home to him. His cousins are there.
That's correct.
Yes. And the developments that a number of regions don't have in Nigeria, Nigeria has been able to put up developments across to Niger. So, and the railway, the gas pipeline, gift of vehicles that we saw,
the transcontinental highway.
Yes, the transcontinental highway.
Yeah.
And then other forms of empowerment, and then the free flow of traffic, human traffic, including even smuggling. Looking at the situation where if there is crisis in Niger Republic, it's going to affect Nigeria adversely.
Whether economic, whether social, whether security.
In security-wise, already a number of these terrorists and marauding killer headsmen that we have, a number of them are from that part of the country. So why is the move by ECOWAS to nip what is going on there in the board, why is it important? It's important because anything that happens to Niger will rub off on Nigeria
almost immediately.
Immediately. And come to think of it, what's the complaint? Why has the military junta struck in Niger? Some of the things we are seeing online, though we are not having the kind of conversation I think we should have, we should be able to know what are the fine details. Like in Nigeria, the details are discussed globally. Interestingly, some African countries, we don't get to have full details, except when something like this happens. We now get to hear that one of their major means of generating income as a country comes from uranium. And the market value of uranium is said to be $70,000 per kilogram or whatever.
Thereabout.
Thereabout.
Pretty expensive.
Good. But how much are the buyers, the people who are the ones buying this?
Especially the Western powers.
Yes.
That are technologically advanced.
Yeah,
Europe and America.
US and France.
Yeah.
I understand they are buying for as low as $10,000. And the information, hoping that it's also true, is that Russia have negotiated.
Russia is suddenly interested also.
Yes, and they have offered up to $50,000 for what other countries are paying for 10.
For 10?
Yes.
Okay.
And if the president has not tried to align himself with improving the economy of the country, it would naturally send wrong signals that there's something wrong. Maybe when you sell at $10,000, you go and get those surplus. So we can't tolerate that. That would be corruption. So whatever. So
technically now you have introduced Western powers.
Yes.
French people are interested.
Exactly.
The Americans have been trading, and then the Russians want to offer times 5 more, which is even closer to the international market price.
Yes, but truly speaking, if it is true that that is what is going on, that is crime against humanity. And consider the fact that US has a military base there, France has military base
there.
Russia doesn't have. And when we saw the coup office holders burning,
so the citizens are happy with the outstar of their
exactly.
Legitimate president.
That's what we see.
Okay.
And there's a video trending where the Minister for Finance is said to have been given, is it 48 hours or 24 hours to
account for
he was busy,
or face the death penalty.
Yes, he was busy crying.
Yeah, we saw the video.
He couldn't even talk.
Cleaning up.
Yeah, he was cleaning up. I mean, really sobbing. So we need to find out what's really going on there and how can that be addressed, because the military persons are not mentally retarded in the first place.
Okay.
A number of them are patriots. When they see something go wrong and they cannot help, that's why they strike. So the issue of good governance also comes into play. But beyond the internal problems of Niger Republic, we need to look at the larger scope. How will it affect the sub-region? Niger is not the first country in the last 2 years.
That
military,
we
had it in Mali, we had it in Chad, and which other country like that.
And Mali's case was terrible.
Yes.
It lingered on for God knows how long.
That is why the statement made by ECOWAS must be well guarded. Their action must be well tailored. Also, the body language and the official statements by Western powers, they have to be careful. We saw what happened in Libya. They were the ones that even masterminded
before it became a failed
ouster of a man that was performing. Though he had his own aura as a strong man.
No, but Libya, if we go into Libya, we will not finish this conversation.
No, I'm just saying.
Because a lot of people are saying he probably would have performed, but he has stayed over 40 years.
No. Let's not even go there, because you'll be shocked that he performed so well that Libyans were living the best kind of life they can ever think of.
But he has spent 40 years.
No.
When it's not a monarchical kind of system.
We have other presidents.
40 years.
Go to Cameroon, go to some other African countries.
Of course. Togo, yes. Cameroon,
leaders who don't have anything to show.
Spent over
You are aware that there was housing, free housing.
Yes.
Fuel was
allowances,
like water, allowances.
Education was at the lowest. Yes.
Let's not even bring it there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we start that, we will not finish it.
ECOWAS have made a very strong statement. 7 days, otherwise we are going to apply force. Why is that statement very serious?
Okay.
It is serious because the ECOWAS under Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our president, is not the same kind of ECOWAS that other presidents must have chaired. Why? Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a civilian field marshal.
That has the features of a general, so to speak.
No, it's more than a general. Yes.
Okay, by the rank, field marshal.
Field marshal is So
that has the features of the field marshal, military
once
field marshal.
it takes a decision, I've said so before on your program, on that program here, that we need to be careful with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Why? He is a born leader, and he is a performer. If what decision he has taken is wrong, he's going to pursue it to the end. So that's why we have to be able to engage our president to be sure that whatsoever decision he takes will favor the people. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. So over this matter, there are about two things that this is what you bring to the table. One, to show that he had warned a week before that military coup that they will not tolerate interference with democratic governments.
Yes, he
in
said
Africa.
it very clearly.
He said it.
He even categorically mentioned the word coup.
Yeah, he mentioned
coups will no longer be tolerated.
It was not. It's not until 7 days after he made that statement, and this has happened. So what is going to happen? What is going to happen is that he's going to show the world, and a particular international community, and those who are saying that, oh, you too, you are an illegitimate president because of the cases in court and all of that, which is not good for us as a people. That's why I've said, and I'm saying so again.
Tinubu's image is everything to him as we speak.
Yes.
Even at the West African sub-region.
At all levels. So he may want to walk the talk. And that may not augur well for us.
I was going to ask that question.
It may not augur well.
So if they decide to put boots on ground,
yes,
what do we foresee? Look at the Western interests.
Yes.
Look at the citizens of Niger themselves. And then see the ECOWAS heads of states. If they decide to put boots on ground, what do we foresee from there? What
we foresee will be Nigeria is going to have influx of refugees, which we are not prepared for. Real Nigerians are refugees. We are in fact the place is very large, the largest almost IDP camp because of the suffering. Since they are going through internal suffering, and then allowing people to now troop in, and knowing that you cannot differentiate a typical Fulani, Northern Fulani, Nigerian Fulani
from a
Nigerian, it becomes very dangerous for us. Secondly, you remember ECOMOG, the Liberian Civil War?
I remember.
Nigeria was the highest funder. By the time they say, oh, let's send troops, Nigeria will send the highest number of troops. Yes. Nigeria will end up funding even other African countries that are going to bring troops. Where do we have the money? Already 99% of our resources goes into debt servicing.
Completely depleted and goes into full debt
Worst off, the international community who are now saying, do something, they will not give us grants. They will give us loan to use and prosecute the war in Niger.
So that we can pay back at very high double digits, if not more, interest.
I mean, so my appeal is that every measure should be adopted to have dialogue with the coupists. You need to talk to them. You need to appeal to them. You need to have undertakings that, okay, are you willing to relinquish return the man to sit? Thank God he's still alive. They said no. If we are saying no, this is our stand. You need to look for a middle ground. If they say okay, but we need to be protected, because the natural thing will be to prosecute. You know, in the military, when you succeed in a coup, you are a living person. When a coup fails, you know that you are a dead person, because it's sentencing.
Yes.
It's trial. You don't allow people to, coexist like that. And that's why some people who have conducted coups in Nigeria who come again to even rule thereafter, some of them are supposed to have been tried. Yes, because it's unconstitutional. Same way, like I said, there is also the civilian coup. When elections are conducted not according to the constitutional provision, that by itself is a coup.
It's some kind of civilian coup.
It's not somehow, it's direct. Until we're able to call things by their proper names, we will not be able to get it right. So it's not just, oh, a coup has happened, I can just send them away or we'll go and crush them. We should not, because it's going to affect Nigeria adversely. We cannot, for any reason.
So even as Tinubu is trying to, to remodel his positive image, even in the eyes of the Western world, he really needs to be careful. As not to plunge Nigeria into a lot of chaos.
Definitely.
Because he's the executive in charge now.
No, he is.
Whatever he says now is what all the other heads of state
whatever
will
a president
around.
says. That's why people should be very careful on what they say or what they do. Because even the body language, like we saw during Buhari's time, it was much of body language, and what we saw was quite negative. And you will speak out, they say, no, it's this best thing. We've never had this so good. Because the praise singers would not allow analysts like us to be heard or taken seriously. But because we know their level, we will not be cowed by such. So for Asiwaju, he's our president now, and everybody must support him, not because of party affiliations. Anybody who is in office has ceased to be a party person, has become the leader of the people. Both those that voted for you, those that did not vote at all.
So you become the president of all.
Of all. So it's very important because Niger does not have a clearly defined landmark with Nigeria. And we cannot take that pressure. Everything should be done to avoid moving troops and beginning a war in Niger. It doesn't matter the size of their population. We cannot even take additional 200,000-300,000 refugees for them.
Especially up north, that is already filled up with internally displaced persons all over, and a lot of insecurity.
Not just that, those people, some of them who have never been here, or some of them that came because of as mercenaries to come and do election for some persons and all of that, they come and see, they came to see how wonderful the land is, and they felt they can't go back.
No need to go back.
No need to go back. You know?
Okay. All right. I don't know whether there's anything else to discuss about the ECOWAS statement and that of the military junta, but we expect that they will be able to settle this amicably so that things will not deteriorate. Although similar cases we've had across the African region seemed to have deteriorated terribly. Mali was a very, very good example.
Yes.
And we don't want a replication of the Mali scenario, because in the end it's not going to be good, for Africa. But away from that, let us now come internally. Let's talk about this proposed NLC protest. Joe Ajero, that is the president of the NLC, made himself pretty clear that Tinubu's policies are robbing the poor to pay the rich. He made examples of some of the palliative, especially figures that the presidency intends to vote, to the National Assembly and to the judiciary, and compared it to that he wanted to give to the average family of 5 or 6. That's 8,000 monthly for about 6 months or thereabout. And then he said that they were at the level of having a meeting on the 520 price per litre, and they were not told before federal government increased it again to 617. And in clear terms, he said, we will start with a protest. He's been consulting with other, similar civil bodies, to join the NLC and the TUC on the protest. Now, the president himself has also said, I've not been properly briefed. Please give me some time to look at this thing. But August the 2nd has become sacrosanct. How do you see this?
First of all, I must be very categorical on this. I'm on the side of the NLC.
Okay.
Why? Because I've said so here, that going forward, electing the president of the NLC should be of interest to citizens. Because you have the president of the country from a political party who may want because of party interests. So some people have not been able to separate themselves.
Differences,
from party politics and governance.
Yeah.
So you need to have somebody that represents the citizens at the level of the NLC president who will be able to interface, engage on the level of mutual respect. So I see the NLC president as the spokesperson of not just civil servants, organized labor, but those in the informal sector, including people who are in IDP camps, who don't have spokesperson, who even have a voice. That's very important. Now, Mr. President, I asked for time, that he has just come on the saddle.
Yeah.
That also is a pointer and an indictment on the fact that on the first day he was sworn in, right at the point of swearing in, he made a statement that sent shock waves and changed everything about the country. You were not prepared to say it, but you said it all the same.
Yeah.
And thank God for who he is. He owned up. He said courage possessed him. He said so in France. That courage possessed him. And he made that statement. No problem.
A lot of people will say it was damage control, but...
No, it's not even damage control. You know...
Because he had already said it prematurely.
Yes.
And now he had to act on what he said.
Acting on what he said.
To give powers to the presidency.
Acting on what he said has been able to come this far because of the ignorance among citizens. The gullibility of citizens in not knowing the issues at stake. Our problem was not subsidy. Our problem as a country was corruption in the subsidy regime, which was aggravated by the last administration. I've told you this.
Hugely aggravated.
Hugely. Why? We will never be tired to say this. And I hope somebody in the NLC is listening to watching us. NLC would never be able to sit at the table with the president, even if they are to meet Mr. President one-on-one to discuss, if they don't have the basic facts. What are the basic facts they must have? It is the last 7 years, because Buhari's administration removed subsidy in 2016.
Yes.
Quote me. From 87 to 145, subsidy was removed.
Yes.
They called it deregulation of the sector.
Yes.
At the same time, they introduced what even enlightened citizens and even those in government up to this moment are not aware, or they didn't even believe that is true. Direct sales, direct purchase contract, where Nigeria gives crude to refiners outside.
And not cash.
And not cash. And they got refined product in return and not cash. And NNPC was made the sole importer of petroleum products. And when they bring it in from these refiners, they now sell it to the independent marketers who were not paid subsidy. So the basic questions would be, who were the ones collecting these trillions of subsidies from?
Huge amount of money being quoted
even
as
if you want to
subsidy.
start from 2016 in the first instance, because that's where this direct sales, direct purchase, DSDP contract started. Where we give crude. What quantity of crude do you normally give, and what do you get? Good. Then, who were the people moving the crude? I'm sure you are aware of this.
All those questions, till now, they are still very opaque.
Yes, that's what I'm
clear explanation.
Even the last National Assembly, the House of Reps, they invited NNPC. Come and explain who you are paying subsidy to. And by the time they went, they didn't have what to say. And they now call some of the independent marketers. I don't want to mention their names here, but we have their names.
Yes,
and the people said, we don't have any business with subsidy. We are not paid subsidy. All we do is that we help NNPC to lift crude for these refiners. That is all we do. So, who have been, the first four weeks, His Excellency, or the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu said that they have been able to save 400 billion in 4 weeks. Who were the people collecting these monies from NNPC and CBN? That's why I thank Mr. President for setting up bring an investigator.
But we had already, sorry to interrupt you, we had already had another stretch of arguments that they said they saved 400 billion didn't even mean that the monies were available in the first place.
No.
And that was shocking.
Those are stories for the gullible. Those are stories.
There were serious arguments by pundits that are supposed to be like the spokespersons or experts.
It does not matter at all. You don't take such for anything. You don't take such for anything. I'm sure you are aware that from about 2021, between 2020 and 2021, to 2022 especially, that NNPC stopped remitting money to the federal account for sharing. Because they said all the money has gone into subsidy.
Some regions declared zero. They even declared deficits after payment of salaries.
So
I remember.
We don't.
NNPC
you don't listen.
NNPC Kaduna. They all declared deficits.
We are talking about refineries. Those ones they don't produce, but they have been earning their money in hundreds of billions.
Yes.
We are talking about NNPC that sells crude sometimes up to 70-something naira per barrel.
Even more. Dollars per barrel.
Dollars per barrel. Even more.
Yeah.
Then no money to share. Then you are not even, that sector, that very sector, maybe we'll come to that later, is NLC must have the basic facts, must be able to have consultants clearly, so that when they sit with the federal government team, they will bring these things to the table. You can't punish ordinary Nigerians because some persons who had masterminded some things and given a timeline, and they just discovered that someday their administration will end. So what do? We just declare from this time there will not be payment of subsidy, because you don't want some other person to come and see what you've been doing. We are wiser than that. So NLC should have this fact and then come to the table. One of the very misleading, fraudulent statements that they used to make was that the poor is subsidizing petroleum products for the rich. Understand? That the rich are the ones that own cars and they run generators. The poor only need it for movement. So when we remove the subsidy, the poor will be able to breathe. Now the poor cannot breathe. Why? Because those were pure lies. The real corruption, the real subsidy was purely corruption. So until you deal with it, I hate the term palliative, sincerely speaking.
I dislike it too.
No. It's insulting.
Very condescending.
Very condescending.
Yeah.
And even the amount, which is also very indicting on those that proposed it. Like the National Assembly, they said they give them 70 billion. It was clearly spelled out as palliative, not to renovate their offices. At the same time, you are giving families, 12 million families. A family is about 4, 5, 6 persons.
The average 5 and 6.
8,000 naira in a month.
To do what?
And then you are giving less than 500 persons or 600 persons in the National Assembly, more than even 70 billion.
Yeah.
And then you are giving, how many people are there in the NJC Commission? 35 billion. You are giving FCT 10 billion. Whosoever thought of that is living in the past. A new Nigeria was born on the 25th of February. I keep saying so, and I believe it. No matter who's on the saddle, it can never be business as usual. Even though your people were the ones responsible for it, now you are in control.
Yeah. So you're saying all this direction now, they are just preambles.
Yeah.
The new Nigeria hasn't kicked off
it has
25th.
No. The new Nigeria started on the 25th.
After the elections. I understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay.
A new Nigeria started then.
Okay.
Yes. And we are in it.
Okay.
And that is why the action of Mr. President yesterday to set up, to appoint an investigator to investigate
the CBN.
Not just CBN. There's something that is said there that people are not able to decode.
To understand, okay.
And what is that? Government businesses.
But people would have argued that that should have started from the NNPCL.
No.
What do you think?
I am one of those that say that if you do not investigate NNPCL, Obaze also,
Obaze,
that mandate clearly says investigate CBN and government businesses. NNPC is a government business. If the president wasn't comfortable in mentioning NNPC directly, because the man that is supposed to have been somewhere with Emefiele is still in office.
Okay. So why will the president not be comfortable to mention NNPCL? Let's even assume.
That is why the engagement that we are doing is very important.
Very, 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 very.
Naira to families. It was a settled thing. Settled completely by right. They are supposed to have even started disbursement.
No, but we heard they are reviewing.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That they paid attention.
That is, he's responsive by, say, oh, that was a bad decision. Let's skip it.
Let's remodify this.
It is born out of engagements, this sort of conversations.
Yeah.
You cannot also be able to come to the table if you do not have the facts. You must have the facts. It's like something that happened here. Maybe when we come to the state, I've mentioned some things. You invite somebody, oh, please come on a program free of charge. Let's talk. They will not come. because they cannot withstand conversation with people like us who ask you real questions. And because you won't be able to His Excellency has done a wonderful work with the man that appointed, and he says every week, give me updates. Every week. That is how to midwife a new era.
Okay, in addition to this, as we wrap up on the issue of the NLC planned protest, do you think that government, yet again, because the last meeting they had, we heard that NLC staged a walkout, which means it was at a stalemate. Do you think government can still hold a meaningful meeting before the Wednesday protest? Because it's pretty close. Because even the NECA, you know, as we had been given, they are afraid that when these people start these protests, which ultimately will lead into an industrial action, it is going to cripple the nation that is already at the precipice of, you know, some kind of economic chaos.
I've told you that I am on the side of the NLC.
Yeah, an average person will be on the side of the NLC.
Yes, naturally.
Yeah.
And then if you know how government functionaries deal with civil society, or the organized private sector, like the NLC, like ASO, you discover that they don't really have respect, and then the capacity, their capacity to discuss these issues and go back and report back to Mr. President, they don't have it. A number of them don't have it. That was why somebody like Femi Gbajabiamila, the speaker, intervened in the ASU case. And ASU were able to pipe down. Unfortunately, the matter was not still solved, and it seemed as if it was
like they were buying some kind of time.
No, they were trying to deceive. It was manipulation. And going forward, negotiators on the side of labor must know that it's not just enough of emergency. It's not a matter that, clearly, we need to protect our government. Which government? The government belongs to the people.
True.
No. The people are the leaders. Those in public offices are servant leaders. They are answerable and accountable to citizens. We must be able to establish that divide.
Exactly.
Yes. And no citizen is a slave, except those that are gullible or those that have chosen to be voluntary slaves. So what do? NLC must be armed with facts. And the negotiators on the part of government must be able to have the mandate of Mr. President that do the best you can.
They can.
Not for us as government, because we are their servant.
Okay, you think NLC doesn't have enough facts at this stage?
I have the fear so much because
when they may not have
when governments keep talking about palliative, NLC should not be going there for palliative talk. The only difference
NLC has made it very clear that everything should be reversed. They said it. I think that statement has been made like more than once.
They have made it, but until they have this kind of information I have shared here, which others are also sharing on different platforms, and there are videos. There's a man called E.J. Agbonayima,
former House of Rep member from Edo State.
He is aspiring to be the governor of Edo State.
Yes.
He headed the probe committee in the House of Reps. That man is a blessing to this country.
Because he revealed a lot of things.
He revealed a lot. He has it. I'm told he has even gone to court outside the country. Because the partners, the international partners who received this looted, stolen crude are there, and the data is there. So NLC must have all these
facts.
They must also look for consultants to work with them.
Help them make more sense of it, so that when they are agitating,
you put the issue on the table.
Yes.
Governments will be compelled to say, no, this is too much. Yeah, it's an opportunity for us to...
Successive governments have always feigned ignorance. They'll be like, whoa, we didn't know it was this bad.
No.
Okay, let's take it easy. Just like they're buying time. You heard what Tinubu said. Please give me some time. I've not been properly briefed.
No, you only say that to people...
And then he dismissed that.
You only say that to people who don't know what is going on. When you know what is going on, my personal philosophy and principle, because of how I was brought up and some kind of things that I saw, is where issues are involved, nobody is important, because your life may depend on it. We are talking about issues, not about you.
Strictly issues.
Yeah, we face issues. It's not because we are in government today. Online, there's a platform that I am. There's somebody that used to be very vocal and pro people, pro association that he belongs to, but it's not in government. And some people try to also address issues, bring it to public domain, and he says, you are
suppresses
attacking
them.
government. They say, you,
It's
you
everywhere.
that used to defend the people.
Suddenly now you're on this
keep
side.
your job, but you can't influence us.
Let us do what we
That's
need to do.
why some people are not interested in being in government. Would rather be outside to help the system, because once you are in government, they say observe table manners. The table manners that we have been observing has brought us
to where we are today.
So my position is NLC, get consultants to bring the data.
Yeah. Get a better understanding.
Have a better understanding.
Of the facts.
We need good governance. Salary increase. Don't go and hold federal government by the neck. We want 300,000 minimum wage, 500,000, 200,000, or even 100,000.
They shouldn't immediately peg it.
No. Sincerely speaking, that's not even our problem.
Okay.
That is not our major problem. Our major problem is bad governance that has been entrenched and supported by even the victims. So we need to free these victims who have made them. We need to free them. Because if we don't free them, they are affecting us. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you came from. I don't even care what was your antecedents as a private person. But once you're in public office, for God's sake. You know, I was in government at the lowest level. I ended up using my money to run the system.
We have a lot.
Terrible thing that you cannot even, when you have the facts, in fact, some of them can't even come to where we are.
We have a lot. We have a lot to talk about. All right, if you're just tuned in, it's Political Spectrum, and we've been dealing with a plethora of issues starting from the West African sub-region, and now we're talking about, you know, some looming crisis, if not properly addressed. We'll go on a short break. We'll be right back. I still have Citizen MKO with me. Join us again.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421, and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did?
He never did.
he linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, many thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back. We just came back from a short break. Real quick, because we don't have too much time, we have a lot of things to discuss. We'll be moving straight into the ministerial list. Of course, we know over the weekend it has generated a lot of conversations back and forth, for and against. A lot of pundits have tried to analyze these lists. 28 names have been published as read by the President of the Senate, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio. And we noticed that the 28 list had 7 women. Some people have even tagged them the 7 Amazons. Yes, it's on display now. Betta Edu, Doris Uzaka, Stella Okotete, Nkiru Onyechocha, and a few other names. Now, these 7 names of female nominees has put it to about 25%, or as against the 35% affirmative action. I want you to have a comment on this, citizen. Just give us an overview of this.
I think until the final lists will come out, and we will to see if Siwaju Bola Tinubu, Mr. President, will be able to beat Obasanjo's record.
Okay.
His Excellency, former President Obasanjo holds the highest record of
at 30%.
30%.
Yes.
And for
5% shy.
No, that 5% shyness was made up in the portfolios.
Okay.
Yes. You know, he brought in Okonjo Iweala.
A lot of them. Okonjo Iweala,
and others, but not just that. The position held by Okonjo Iweala,
critical.
Not just critical, the capacity she brought in
as a
made up for even
minister of economy.
Made up of even 15 women.
But
she was
women won't see the way as it is.
She was the head. She was the head of the economic team.
They are more interested in how many women.
No, it's not a matter of number.
Because I speak to you that they are still protesting.
Capacity.
Yeah, true.
It's the capacity.
No, you made a very valid statement. But will they see it from that point?
No, it's also demeaning when you try to even limit women to a quota. I'm against it.
Okay.
Women.
But that is supposed to encourage.
No, it's an indictment on the men.
Now you are attacking the issue.
They even allow them see themselves as we are helpless. We need palliative.
No, but who made them helpless in the first case? Is it not the same men?
That's the issue.
We are saying the same thing.
Yes.
It's the story of the egg and the chicken. Which one gets better? All right.
So it's a good move.
Yeah.
We expect more, but I have a little fear.
Okay.
Among the 7 women, one of them, some documents or some stories around, is that she may likely have issues having clearance because of.
Okay, which of the women now?
I think Delta State, Stella Oketete.
Okay, Stella Oketete.
Yes,
that's a very known name. And another peculiar thing about this list is some of them are pretty young. I heard Betta Edu is about 37 years.
Betta is 36 or thereabouts.
36 or thereabouts. Yes. Stella Oketete is about 39. I mean,
Georgia is
so it's a mixture of women being emboldened and then young ones at that.
Very encouraging.
I'm still waiting for you to give it as a positive.
No.
Because of course we know that there are still more names and more women may emerge.
Very encouraging.
Exactly.
Quite encouraging. Like even when Dr. Betta Edu came up as the APC woman leader.
Yeah, national woman leader.
Some people were saying that she's so young to lead the women.
And she was former commissioner in Cross River.
Yes.
Very active, very vibrant.
She was a commissioner during while she was appointed.
Okay.
And I know she has been in activism. I understand she was a vice president of Student Union of the University of Calabar and things like that. So she's been in activism, and she's still very young. And the rise is meteoric, and it's something that should be encouraged. And what should also be discouraged should be allowing these young ones to have stained records as they are moving on.
Okay, what do you mean stained record? That should be on the ones that have been appointed.
Exactly.
It's not on anybody else.
Like
their records should show.
Like Okotete, like I've just mentioned. Some of the things online about her, if it's true, shows that definitely her screening at the National Assembly
might have issues.
Is going to be very interesting.
And especially now that media is already expanding it and magnifying it.
That however they are going to keep that thing secret, we understand that some persons were dropped at the level of screening by DSS before their names were forwarded. Till today, we have not heard who they are. But if herself and the man from Taraba, Sani Danladi.
Oh, Sani Danladi,
yeah. Sani Danladi, from what we've heard, there are serious issues. It was even bad from holding public office for the next 10 years.
Interesting. But talking about issues, I want the slide that has the former governors to be displayed. Talking about issues and, there's this saying that there are some faces that the average Nigerian has become tired of, but they keep coming. You can see them boldly. I hate to mention the names. Here's some Wike. You can see Dave Umahi, although it's claimed that Dave Umahi was a very, very good governor in terms of rearranging and reconstructing the whole of Ebonyi. I visited Ebonyi recently, and I saw hundreds of kilometers of road, concrete pavements.
That's right.
And I commend him. And then you see Nasir El-Rufai campaign for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. 4 of them, former governors have emerged. How do you see this?
Starting from, what do I call it now? Wiki. And there's a saying that I normally like quoting at times. When you say, well, I'll be like Wiki's voice, they're clear. An enigma, and one of the persons that will go down in history as having demystified governance.
Talking about
Wiki.
Wiki.
Yes, on Wiki.
Okay.
You see, I also have a saying that impunity has a cure. The impunity that was brought into the party, the PDP as a party, that impunity had a cure in Wiki.
But a lot of people argued that he didn't even fight it well. That you don't kill, I don't know how to say it, but you do not attack a wrongdoing by a wrongdoing. Because a lot of things, if we decide to dwell on Wiki, we will not.
No. I'm just saying, you need to understand the angle.
He called their bluff. I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
There's hardly any other person in the South that has this kind of capacity.
Okay.
Remember, the Southern governors, including governors from opposition party, including, in fact, across, beyond even the South, they said, let power move to the South.
Yes.
And they had a meeting in Okowa State. Okowa gave the official statement after the meeting.
Yes.
The next one was held in Lagos.
It was called the Asaba Declaration.
Asaba Declaration. But Okowa.
Especially Okowa.
Especially Okowa.
Yeah.
So, there are people you should not trust.
That annoyed Wiki anyway.
And then Wiki became an agent who had to cure that impunity.
But recall, because we don't have time, but recall that Wiki, a lot of videos are flying around now. Wiki said he didn't want to be minister.
No, let me explain
He didn't even want to be vice president. Real quickly.
He said that when even he himself was not sure he was going to support Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. That very video was addressing the then minister.
Okay.
Rotimi Amechi.
Yes.
Nobody could have.
That is why you need to be careful about what you say, because we have gotten to the digital age where records are kept.
No. The records are kept.
The video being bandied around now are specially edited to contradict his current position. That's what I'm saying.
No.
You are explaining because you have a deeper knowledge and you understand what happened at that
I give you the latest scenario now.
But the videos...
Let me tell you. Let me give you the latest scenario.
Yeah.
Mr. Senate President distinguished Senator Gospel Akpabio,
yes,
talked about let the poor breathe.
yeah,
And people just edited where he said that and slammed the Cavell.
Yeah.
And because of his body language, it was like on a lighter note. So people now said he was mocking the poor.
people didn't say it was obvious.
No,
I'm
no.
not judging.
No,
but it was obvious.
You know, yeah, I'm going to explain something.
Yeah, I'm listening.
In relation to Wike's position.
Okay.
That video was not the full video.
Yeah, it wasn't.
A senator had moved a motion that the National Electricity Regulation Body should not increase electricity tariff
Yes.
so that the poor can breathe.
Yes.
That senator, I've forgotten his name now, I think it's from one of the western states.
Yeah.
He used that term.
Yeah.
I see what I mean. That senator did not coin that term. Neither did Senator
Goodwill
Akpabio. It
coined
was Mr. President that coined it. So, in passing the motion, which was unanimous, that tariff should not be increased, Akpabio, in his nature, he needs to work on some things anyway. He brought in
some kind of light mood.
Some light mood to it.
They now
and
made it perceived as mockery.
So, when Wike made that statement,
Yes.
he was nowhere close to working for APC. Nowhere close to it.
We are saying the same thing. The only thing is that our choice of words are different. You do not assume you already have a clear picture of what you want and what you don't in the kind of Nigerian politics, in the context of Nigerian politics, because you never can know what will happen.
We'll be guilty.
Now, what you are saying now is a fact. But he didn't even see the nearest few days or few weeks.
No, but you don't.
And now everything he has said now he's doing completely different, or contradiction.
You don't even blame him for that, because we all are guilty. So I supported somebody I overrated.
Okay.
I saw somebody who came to office with wonderful profile, and I said, this is wonderful. Above all, I am close to this person. Yeah. Not just because I'm not a selfish person.
I understand.
So you now hype the person. Meanwhile, that person has the credential is different from his nature.
Yeah.
I can't blame myself. I can't feel guilty that I supported him with the kind of support that I gave.
Yes.
So we need to give that room.
Yes.
So for Wike, he's a different breed.
Okay.
Go to the next person, Umahi. I'm not comfortable with
I wanted to ask a question. So between Umahi and Wike, for example,
yes,
there's been this pundits have been saying all sorts of things that probably one of them may be Minister for Works. Do you see that?
Yes, any one of them.
Works and any other associated ministry.
Wherever you put Umahi and Wike should be where results are meant to be seen. It should be where he must have free hand to work. Umahi, I'm not too comfortable with Umahi's nomination. Okay. Why? Because he went for presidential, contested for president.
Yes.
And a lady, won as senator. He came back, and the battle to get that ticket from that lady almost cost that lady's life. But you are now in the Senate, and you now stretch to go and get minister. I hope.
And the lady now, we
don't
even know what has
to give that lady that slot again. Outside of that, it's a very bad precedent. You can't be everything, for God's sake. He's a performer. If you look at how much Ebonyi State gets as allocation, and the kind of things he is said to have put in place. I've seen some pictures.
Yeah, I've been there. In fact, I was there a few weeks ago.
I'm happy you're
Although if we can now begin to argue about the quality, but it was massive.
No.
He built flyovers, he built roads of hundreds of kilometers. I saw the medical, I don't know whether it's a training institute. Beautiful place, amongst a lot of things.
You are the one saying it.
No, he tried.
But I, as a person, I am proud of somebody like Umahi. But please, don't bring greed to public space. Look at the battle to get the ticket for Senate. And you are now in the Senate. And you are now leaving the Senate to go and get minister. I am even sure that if you, in his secret, he does not wish that he can be senator and minister at the same time. So that is not about Umahi. And both of them should be able to be given works, and one other ministry that will involve, even if it's rural development, which should be taken to the level of development. Now, go to our man, let me not say our man.
Nasir El-Rufai. I knew you.
Asiwaju knows him very well.
Very well.
Asiwaju knows him.
Yes.
Why do I say so? The kind of tales that we heard after the 2015 elections and why Asiwaju was sidelined by the APC. Nasir's name was mentioned.
Of course.
Good. I'm glad you know. Now, if you see what has gone on in Kaduna State under him, Kaduna State is supposed to have been declared a state of emergency on Kaduna.
Almost immediately.
But he takes
being
credit.
Compensated now.
No, compensated not just because he's a performer, but because of how he stood by the same Asiwaju that was benched.
Yes, in 2015.
He took his boss, President Muhammadu Buhari, to court. He led the battle that you have changed the naira, you are making fuel to be scarce because you want to stop Asiwaju from becoming the president. We are saying that a Southerner must be the president. He did that, something that some persons in the South could not do. The same thing that Wike did to tell PDP, you have
Call
power rotation. and you are now taking the national chairman, you will now take the presidency.
Okay, let's
chop alone, die alone.
Let's move quickly. Okay, we understand that the Committee on Ethics, the Committee on Ethics and Public Petitions on Friday indicated that no petition had been received against the 28th nominee. So we hope that they will have a smooth sail. But quickly, let's now come home to the Aqua Cross region. Okay. Let's just quickly deal with situations and developments, around the inauguration of commissioners by His Excellency Governor Pastor Umweno. In Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umweno inaugurated the State Executive Council comprising of 23 commissioners and 1 special advisor, with a charge on members to brace up to the new phase of the administration and turn around the economic fortunes of the state. Inaugurating the new Executive Council members at the Banquet Hall, Government House, Uyo, the governor emphasized that the Arise Agenda blueprint of his administration seeks, amongst other things, to stimulate the rural economy and ensure a turnaround in the rural areas by way of integration and massive development. Now, he said a lot of things. I'm sure some of the things he said were put in bullet points, and some specific ones that we highlighted out. The first major statement, he was trying to respond to why they said his commissioners came back 99.9% citizen, but I know you like to say 100%. And his statements were very clear. You do not abandon your foot soldiers shortly after the successful execution of a major victory. Talking about the election now. He went further. He said, I know this old blood, as they are referred to, as the returning commissioners, very well. He says he knows them very well. He said, and I quote, we went to the battle to continue good governance together. We were in the trenches together. We swatted away the bullets of vicious attacks together. And most of you spent long hours traveling the length and breadth of the entire state with me. So he's making it very clear that he believes in them and that he wants to work with the foot soldiers that he knows. What will be your take on this? Time is really fast spent, but I want you to say something about it, because this one is peculiar to us at home here. It was a very colorful ceremony. Yeah,
naturally, it should be colorful, but I am one of those that had seen something, an indicator, a pointer, that His Excellency Pastor Moino may not be able to have free hand to pick his team. And what was that pointer? The immediate past governor, former Governor Dube Emmanuel, did not dissolve his cabinet.
You have facts to that?
No. You don't even have it. You have never reported. Your station has never reported that. I'm trying to say government.
I'm just being a journalist. Cabinet. So you have facts to that. No, but the station doesn't have to report it.
No.
Eh? We were at the media, government and press media parley. Yeah. And a lot of statements were made, but let's not go into that.
No, let's not go into that. But the fact is that is a pointer.
Yeah.
Even if he was to come and pick them later, but for the former governor not to dissolve his cabinet officially, for me, I'm an analyst. I'm also a spiritual person.
Okay.
And I am very much on ground to the best of my ability. I knew that there must have been an agreement. And thank God for Pastor Moino. It sounds very honest and appears very honest. he said so, that one of his statements was that I have kept my part of the bargain. Now it is your turn. If you do not deliver, you will hear your name on 4 o'clock news.
Exactly, he said so. He said so.
That is enough warning. Why? Because maybe left for him. Left for him. It has never happened in this state. I don't know about Nigeria as a whole.
I don't think I've heard it in the last 5-10 years.
100%, it's not 99.9.
It's 9.9.
All the commissioners
you allow room for mathematical error.
No, there's no error there. No,
it's 99.9. It's okay. 99.9 100.
But you know the bad thing about that.
Mean the same thing. Yeah.
The bad thing about it all is that that last administration had one of the most unproductive set.
According to your perception.
According to my perception, and which has been confirmed by the MBS.
Okay.
Have you seen the latest, not latest, 2022 report?
Okay. Are you talking about
of the poverty rate?
Yeah, poverty rate.
Multi-dimensional poor people.
Akwa Ibom was low.
In South. Are you saying low?
As in the poverty rate was high.
Yeah.
You
understand? In terms of number, we are the highest in the South. As wealthy as we are.
Exactly.
And this was made possible because of an administration that was not as responsive to needs of the people, ideas. Umoino has come with a clear difference in as much he is saddled with the same team. So when he said in the statement that you put up there, he said we are coming to continue good governance.
Yes.
There was no kind of good governance you want to say that was a template.
Okay.
He is starting a new template.
Okay, there were some areas on the slide where he also said something about taking infrastructure to the villages. Yeah. I don't know if my studio person can change this slide where he said taking the infrastructure into villages and expanding opportunities for the rural areas, talked about industrialization, talked about agricultural revolution. Yeah. Okay, you can see it now.
Okay.
He said the political godfather used to tell him that fundamentally apt, which he wants to repeat, and he said, please do not come to me to report efforts, rather bring me results. He went further. He said, ensuring food security through the agricultural revolution, we are promised to ignite, then bringing massive development in those areas and changing the narrative and circumstances of our rural dwellers, more expansion in our infrastructure. He said a lot of things.
No, he doesn't just say. The Rise Agenda, a document which he was humble enough and pro-people enough to put out, call citizens, stakeholders, experts,
part of his manifesto.
Come and dissect this thing and show me how to go about it. 4 days span.
Okay.
And he was challenged by the chairman of that occasion.
Okay.
Senator Udoma. And what did the chairman say? The chairman said governments will put 90% to putting up a policy and end up doing 10% implementation.
Okay.
Showing exactly what has been happening. In fact, sometimes worse than 10%. And Pastor Moino was bold enough to say, I promise you I'm going to implement this, the outcome of this very dialogue.
Okay, so which is according to you now, it's a great difference from what we had in the past.
Marked difference. We have, for those that...
No, but there were promises. At the early trimester of Udom's era, there were a lot of promises and there were a lot of defined actions and executive...
they were not executed.
Eventually.
So
that leads me to, are we not judging Pastor Moino too early?
No, we are not judging too early. We are trying to encourage him that if not for anything, he has done what has never been done before at this level. The only person that did something higher than this is Obong Otta.
Yeah.
Obong Otta had a plan for his administration. He had...
And he followed it, so I heard.
More than follow. That is why almost we have 2 successive regimes now.
Yes.
Gospel Akpabio and Udom.
Yeah,
they have not been able to finish building on what Obong Otta laid. They have not.
So he actually pulled a plan that exceeded his administration.
My God, there is no state of the Federation that can be compared with the kind of plan that Obonta put on, which, if you want to deviate, look at the Ibakadip Seaport. It will have been upstream now if the vision of Obonta was followed. Look at the science park.
Yeah, the science park.
Yes. Obasanjo came and laid the foundation.
Yes.
Built to
it's still there, but nothing is happening there.
It's been stripped of even the roofs, even the railing,
even the road that was made. I think there's a huge dump site there, which we will address pretty soon.
You are talking about somebody that does not just talk but act. But because of our previous immediate past experience, which people should not be taking credit. That is why the man, by the time he was leaving, you saw what workers did to him. You don't know the language.
No, but let's
leave that side. So
let's focus on Mweno.
He needs to business going near to office again.
So will he be able to achieve what I'm so passionate about with the old, in quotes, the old
Some of them who have gone back to the same ministry that they were, I bet you the staff, some of them would look for transfers. They were nightmares. Clearly.
And they are back.
They are back to the same ministry. So what are we talking about? Umweno has the capacity to bring out the best in them, which they themselves will be shocked that, oh, we had this kind of capacity to deliver, and we're doing like this. It was a shame. What was I doing? Outside of that, you can be sure that it will be failure first class. I'm telling you, I deal with a number of them. The kind of things I have shared with some of them. I'm talking about commissioners.
Yeah.
Some have left the cabinet. Some are still in the cabinet now that have had one-on-one.
Okay, so as we wrap up now, you're saying some of those commissioners, since you have had one-on-one interactions with them, you're saying some of them clearly lacked it by Pastor Mweno. Is it in line with that master plan that Obongata had clearly designed out as we wrap up now?
There's no governor in this state that will not be able to do something that Obongata has laid the foundation. And thank God Obongata was there, and Obongata personally handed over a plan, his own plan,
to
Pastor Mweno.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a nice way to end this show. Because the truth is, time is never enough for us to exhaust these issues. But thank you so much, it is MKO. You know, it's always a delight to have you.
My pleasure.
And there is a way you energize it on Mondays. And I hope you will find time.
Thank you.
All right, it's been a seriously engaging show with Citizen MKO, a very vibrant and intellectually sagacious person. I'm sure a lot of my viewers have they are in awe and in praise of you because they've learned a lot, from these conversations. We are going to draw the curtain today, discussed in mainstream media. I remain yours sincerely, Onwese Ehinoma Olusegun. Signing out now. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a lovely day ahead.
SpectrumTv, broadening your horizon.